children who have a positive and healthy self-view of themselves, I think is one thing that is really helpful in those situations.
Okay. Thanks for that question, Eminem, and the comment. Now, you mentioned self-esteem, and I guess how can someone who participates in pageants, I guess, battle with low self-esteem? I mean, it would seem that you would be filled with confidence, but is the pageant more of a, well, I hate to call it an act, but I guess that's the only word I can look for. Is that more of an act, so to speak, and there are people who, even though they're smiling, they're still struggling behind the stage?
Yes, I definitely. I know where you're going with the act piece. I think it is and it's not. There's some women that they're genuinely, when they're up there, and I loved being up there. Like, there was times when I just felt I was on point, I was in my zone, and I loved being on stage and competing. But then there was the other times when I would just start looking at other girls or start comparing myself. And so there are those things that happen in pageantry, and I think that's not just with pageantry, but even when you look in society in general. Young girls are picking up the magazine and they're seeing these airbrushed images of women, and they start comparing themselves. Well, I don't really look like that on my nose or my body or my breasts or my hair, and it's just something within us in society where we're sort of taught that we're not good enough. Like, you're too big, you're too skinny, you're too light, you're too dark, and it's like never quite good enough. And so for me, I don't think it's an act, but I definitely did struggle still with self-esteem issues. And I can be honest to say, of course, part of pageantry is beauty. If I say no, it's not, then I'd be lying to myself and to everyone else. So I did have to be careful with that, and I think that's why, speaking to Eminem, one thing I noticed that helped was having positive parents who didn't say, oh, you need to start wearing all this makeup so that you can, or let's go dye your hair, or let's add this in so that you can look more beautiful to fit in and try to win the pageant. No, it was always, let's improve your personality, or let's work on your speech, or how we can do this to be a better competitor and be the best you, but never anything altering my physical
and that's great. And I think these people on Tyler's and Tierra's miss that message. I really do, because some of the things they do with the spray tanning the kids, and it just goes, it's a little out there to me. So I understand
and
completely.
Even for me, and I'm in pageantry, but I just feel like there's some things, like, as an adult, you want to do that, fine, but let them have something to look forward to, or let them know that, you know what, you can still put your best foot forward without having to add on all that extra stuff.
I agree.
And save some things for adult when you get teen and an adult. That's something you can look forward to, putting on your lipstick and your high heels.
Okay. All right, let me go to the 850 area code, the Emerald Coastline of Pensacola, Florida, and bring on Buck. Buck, what's happening tonight?
What up? How's Christine doing tonight?
I am well. How are you?
Doing good.
You have a question or comment for Ms. Dane?
Yes, I do. My question is, obviously, you definitely go, back to Africa on a pretty consistent basis. But I was thinking, my question is, some of the girls that you have in Minnesota, had you thought about possibly, helping them maybe get involved more in the medical field to help out in Africa, where in some of those areas that don't have the adequate medical care for the people that live in that particular area? Is that something that you are working on or thought about?
That's a great question. I love it. And say your name for me again.
Do what now?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat your name for me again?
Yeah, I'm Buck.
Buck? Okay. No, I love that. Sorry about that. I love that question. And actually, one of the things that struck me on my first trip to the Gambia was, and it's something that I actually continue to do now, no matter where I go, I always make an effort to visit the Children's Hospital. When I was born, I actually contracted sepsis, which is a rare blood disease, and it causes the immune system to attack the brain, the heart, and I could have died if it wasn't for a blood transfusion. And it's very rare here in the States. But when I went to the Gambia on my first trip, and I went to the Children's Hospital, there was at least 4 babies in very critical condition, and they had sepsis. And that just did something to me. And so kind of back to that medical piece, from there, every time I would travel, I would, even if it wasn't much, I would try to go to a local hospital, or sometimes you can look online, there's medical missions where you can go and pack a 50-pound luggage full of medical supplies and bring them with you. And so even though it's one small gesture, that's sort of something that I began doing, is every time I would travel there, I would always stop by the maternal baby unit and bring medical supplies and things of that sort. And I do know there's some women that are working on, actually, that go on mission trips through Samaritan's Purse and other organizations, and are passionate about that. I haven't actually started a program per se concerning that. I am helping to build a school in Liberia. That's one of the things we're working on, and part of that, our long-term goal is to bring in nurses and things of that nature to focus on the healthcare piece as well. But it is something that definitely is necessary, and there are a lot of organizations, I think, out there that are focused on that, where young women or even men can go overseas and donate their time and their talent to help with the medical field. I don't know if that answers the question. Or
all right, I appreciate that question, Buck. That was a good question. And now a few more questions, and I'll get you out of here. But before we talk about your book, you're also an actress. In fact, let me tell you how I discovered you. It's a funny story. I was watching someone being sued on Judge Joe Brown. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
And he was affiliated with a movie called My Life, My Battle. And they showed the DVD cover on the screen, and being the curious guy that I am, I Googled the movie, which eventually led me to your website, which eventually led me to emailing you about coming on to the show. So was My Life, My Battle like your first stint in acting? I mean, you were on the cover of the DVD. I mean, was that your first experience, I guess, in acting?
Actually, and it's a funny story behind that. That was not. I never actually thought of acting as an adult. When I was younger, I guess, along with the pageantry, I did a little bit of acting on the side in plays, and then I had the opportunity to be an extra in, I don't know if you've seen Jingle All the Way. It was a movie that was filmed in Minnesota with
I'm familiar with it, but I never watched it. I never watched.
So I played an extra in that role, but never thought too much of it. And in 2011, I had graduated from my master's program and was out in D.C. and had ended up going into ministry. And I got a phone call from a family friend who said they're auditioning for a role in this movie called The Helpmate, which is dealing with a woman whose husband contracts HIV. And it's an international company who really wanted to sort of open up the dialogue about the fact that there's a lot of married women, especially in African homes and African-American homes, who are HIV positive. Mm-hmm. And so I said, okay, let me audition. I did a Skype audition because at that time, again, I was in Maryland and D.C., and they ended up calling me down. And so in 2011, I got connected with this organization, End Time Harvest Productions, and we just clicked. They became a family. I believed in their mission, their goal to really produce quality films, particularly in the international community, with a focus on issues that our young people are struggling with, which gets lost in, I don't know if you're familiar with Nollywood, but has been lost in sort of the African movie industry. So that's sort of how that came about, and My Life, My Battle, and The Helpmate, we had an experience there. And we ended up doing My Life, My Battle. And as you can see on Judge Joe Brown, we had another experience. But, the beautiful thing is when you're operating with integrity and really doing things right, and God's on your side. I've learned that people can do some crazy things and attack your name and your character, but at the end of the day, your integrity and God will stand for you. So that's how the acting started, and now I'm producing, had the opportunity to produce my first movie, Boys Cry, which will be released this summer, 2013, dealing with bullying.
Okay, and let's talk about that. And I'm going to have to look up Nollywood. I'm not familiar with that at all. Now, I don't know, that one's escaped me. I've watched Bollywood movies before, but never Nollywood. So I have to Google that after the show. But
most definitely.
You have the movie Boys Cry that's releasing this summer, and you're a producer, and you're also acting in the movie, correct?
Yes, I have a small role as the school counselor.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the movie and when we can expect to see it released?
Most definitely. Well, I'm really excited. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see the trailer.
I did.
But we recently wrapped up production. Well, technically we're still in production, but wrapped up filming, and we're getting ready to launch the movie this summer, end of July, going into August. And we're really excited. The movie is about bullying, but the twist that we sort of put on that is, again, we have a young African gentleman who comes from a southern African country. He relocates here to America, and he begins to experience bullying in the school system. And the reason we focused on that is because we wanted to start opening up the dialogue amongst African homes and international communities, because it's being talked about here in America, but a lot of times it goes unrecognized in African homes. So we thought, how can we impact our youth in America? How can we impact youth of every different walk, of every race, but also open up the dialogue within our own homes? And so henceforth, Boys Cry. And it really is a powerful story. And what we focused on was this young man, Benjamin, who's played by an up-and-coming actor named Elijah Conde. You really see bullying from his perspective. It's not something that just happens at school, but he goes home and he's still feeling the torment from the bullies at school, and he starts making some decisions that he normally wouldn't do. And so we really try to draw you in and show the story from the perspective of the person being bullied and what it could lead them to do, but also there's a redemption in that for the end of the movie. And we wanted to open the dialogue amongst parents to see what's going on with their kids. But another spin on the movie is that the gentlemen that are bullying, they're all black. They're all of African or African American descent. And so we also wanted to start opening up that dialogue about why is it that we necessarily have the same skin color or look alike, but we have some anger toward one another. Where is that coming from? And so it just has a lot of different things that it's dealing with, and we're really passionate about it. We're really excited, and it's more than just a movie. We took it on as a project. We're passionate, but now it's becoming a movement, and we're excited about that, and we love it, but it's just growing on its own, and prayerfully it will go throughout the schools, go throughout the nation, and be sort of a model movie for other institutes to be able to use that as an educational tool. It's very entertaining, but also I believe it could be used as an educational tool to open up dialogue amongst the international community and within our own communities concerning bullying and how to stand up for our children.
Okay. That's good. And I'll throw the link to the website, boyscrymovie.com, into the chat room for those in the chat room to check out. But, I think it sounds wonderful. And I think, like you said, the fact that it's black on black, so to speak, is definitely something that raises the question of why. So definitely look forward to that. As well as your book is not released yet, right? Is that also up and coming?
So that is up and coming, yes. I think I could. I always make this joke that my next book needs to be a book about writing this book and releasing it.
Right.
It has been one heck of a journey, and I've been stretched in numerous ways, and but I've been taught a lot about perseverance and not giving up.
Okay.
I'm really excited.